Voting to move each one, or you want to put them all together?
It's a separation.
If we're going to separate, we have to.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to vote to move each one. If one that
Right.
we're not gonna move, we'll
That's
say no. Those that we're moving, we'll just say yes, and you can just go by the names.
All right. The first one that we're going to move to the regular board meeting is Director of Operation and Auxiliary Services at the Administration Building.
So moved.
You've heard the motion.
Support.
It's been properly second. Any discussion? Trustee McIntyre?
What does this do with the position of the interim director then? How does,
As we discussed in the HR subcommittee,
it's on
our
that?
current interim, he would be in our facilities and maintenance manager position.
Right, we discussed several things though, like have those all been taken care of?
I believe so, yes.
Yes. Are you talking about
Mhm.
the pay?
The pay and just making sure that there's like enough communication with the individual involved
I would think
Yes.
so, yes.
to his satisfaction?
I don't know about to
I-
his satisfaction, but,
Well, we have
We-
some nods, so, I mean,
okay, all
I
right.
just want to make sure that, and this isn't saying that he's not, but just, you know, the dignity and respect, the appreciation, you know, likewise with Dr. Wolf, that these individuals realize they're not being passed up and looked over, but enhanced, I guess, that our appreciation is consistent, if not more. I guess, yeah.
Yes, I
that's-
believe we've done our due diligence with our team and showed their value and spoke to them clearly about their value moving forward and the things that we need to commit us to our future. So I think we've done
Any further? Trustee Giordano?
So, this person is replacing an interim director? Is that what I heard?
They are filling that position. The requirement when the interim director was filling that position was that that role was kept open and interviewed for. So they are filling that position. It was the requirement of this board
So where
that
did,
that was what was happening.
And the administration decided to forego bringing on an administrative assistant, in which where we have been able to use those funds to keep our interim director of operations and moving them into a maintenance, a manager of maintenance for the district, because we do value the work. So we have replaced one job with keeping our current person on the team. We have foregone the administrative assistant for that department.
okay, where did the interim director come from?
The interim director is right here.
He's right there.
In 2021, right here.
Yes.
Okay. So Pete went from his job to being interim director?
He went from he went from a third party, and I'm not going to call any names, but he went from a third party to being our interim director because he has preferred experience that made him our interim. And at that time, it was very important for us to get someone in to support the administration because we had no one. And so we appreciate the work that he's constantly doing, but we need to make sure that we have someone that's going to fit in the administrative roles of that particular job. And so we talked this over in the committee. We've also talked to the particular staff member that we're talking about, and all parties understand why this move is being made. But we still need the valuable knowledge of this person in the department. Hydration stations, if you can remember a lot of the work that's been done, that is valuable. And I think what has happened in our district, we have lost or have let go of so many operations directors because they didn't have someone else that was familiar with the district and the schools. And so because of that, they were rushed into work that they could not complete because they did not know. And so I think we're in a great position now that we have an historical, I won't call you an historical person, but a person with the knowledge that I think we have a person that has the knowledge of the district and can he's the hands, but we also now need someone that can support with the other areas and some of the things that we're going to be talking about later tonight.
Thank you. I have a better understanding.
Yes, sir.
Any further? And myself, Trustee Gilbert, is yes. So we got 5 yes to move the second separation to the regular board meeting on July the 20th. Treasurer McIntyre.
So I am curious, maybe I should have asked this before the vote, why the position of the individual with whom we were speaking is not also included. I mean, shouldn't we have,
Put that on the package.
yeah,
Which one,
the manager, the managerial, the maintenance, the mechanical manager position, why isn't that
Well-
included in the package?
Well, we expected just the same as Dr. Wolf. We weren't transitioning them from the change of assignment from interim until the position was approved and moved in, and then we would move them from the interim back to their positions. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah, kind of need to approve them before we can start moving, make sure we approve them.
Yeah, yeah.
Say it again.
Oh, we just had to make sure we approve these before we start to
Move the interims.
the interim. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
to stay where you're at until we get everything
Right,
approved.
right.
Any further discussion? Well, we took the vote already, so
Mhm.
we'll move the second separation to the regular board meeting on next week. So that's number 2. We're at number 3, third separation is the music teacher.
So,
You've heard the motion, it's been properly second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion to move this to the regular board meeting as a third separation, we'll move it to the regular board meeting by a roll call vote. Trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Maroney.
Yes.
Secretary Booz.
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
President McNeil.
yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. And myself, Trustee Gilbert, is a yes. 5 yes to move third separation to the regular board meeting on July the 20th, and 2 absent. For separation, the induction coordinator, to move that to the regular board meeting.
Support.
So, support.
Haven't heard the motion yet. Gotta have the motion before you get second. Trustee Devereaux?
We're voting right now?
No, we need the motion first
Oh, okay, yeah, so.
to move it to second.
I move that the appointment to induction coordinator administration building to the full board next week.
Heard the motion, is there a second?
Support.
It's been properly seconded, is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion at all, we'll take the roll call vote to move separation number 4 to the regular board meeting on July the 20th of 2022. Trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Demerol.
Yes.
Secretary Booth.
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
President McNeil.
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh, absent, and myself, Treasurer Gilbert, yes. Got 5 yes to move separation number 4 to the regular board meeting on July the 20th, induction coordinator. All right, we got 2 more. Number 5, separation is the executive assistant to the superintendent. Chair will entertain a motion.
You make the motion or we discussion?
You have to, because we separated it.
I'd like to make a motion to move it.
We've heard the motion. Is there a second? And separation number 5, to move it to the July the 20th, 2022 regular board meeting.
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Trustee Demerol?
Is this person qualified and ready to start on day 1?
Yes.
There's been some talk of hiring a former employee to assist her in doing the job. If she's qualified and ready on day 1, why would we be considering that later in the agenda?
So, in our conversations, we have discussed both the duties that our previous assistant has had have been, it's been too much for one. And so what you see here is a separation of executive assistant to the superintendent that will work with the daily operations of the district. That's this person. And then if you see in B, you'll see that we have an executive assistant to the superintendent assigned to the board. So we have taken the duties that our previous executive assistant did her best to do, and we've split them because it did not work. And so we have created a space for an executive assistant to be assigned to the board work, the daily board work, and handle all board business. And then we have assigned an assistant to the daily work of the superintendent and the district work. That's what this is. So I think the consultant work is not about this particular individual. That would be in B.
Okay. And is there a reason why the 2 employees here that are coming up, this one presently and the one in B, are being paid different wages?
The position in B is a new position,
Okay.
and the position, as far as executive assistant to superintendent, it's a different position, so it calls for a different level of responsibility.
And the position in B also comes with, if you look at page 5, you would see that it also comes with some extra stipends that will go with that was given to our previous executive assistant.
Mhm.
You mean the supplemental payments?
Yes.
Agreement?
Yes,
Mhm.
For BOE means Board of Education.
yes, sir.
Mhm.
So, page 5, what page 5 are we talking about? Oh, okay, this next page. All right, so is it fair to say, am I correct in saying that what one person was doing, we will now have 3 people doing it?
I can only speak to the position, the executive assistant assignment. I think what the superintendent tried to outline was that there were a conglomerate of duties that the previous person was,
One person,
right, trying to do.
okay.
Um,
And now we'll have this appointed person or hired person
mhm,
doing some of it, and the
mhm,
one in B doing some more of it,
mhm.
and then we'll have a consultant coming in to help them out.
I can't speak to the consultant work.
We're only trying to speak to, well,
Point of effort.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
sorry.
As it relates to the executive, and you really should read executive operation and administration assistant, don't you think?
Say that.
It should really be the executive operation administrative assistant to you, right? 'Cause that's what she would be.
This person
for.
is going to be doing the
Yeah.
daily
Yeah.
operations that, with helping set the schedules and
Can I
working with the
finish?
district.
Can I-
I'm sorry.
Can I finish? In September 2021, previous board member 7 voted that the administrator that we had that's retired was very, very overloaded. And when I said overloaded, she was overloaded. 2021, the board voted that there be another administrative assistant come in that will work with the superintendent. And here we are just not fulfilling what we're trying to get at and talk about. But it's been way overdue. So the question I do have, we got the same levels, the same staff, same days, but we have different pay. However, this is nothing new. There's been, and that's what happened with our administrative assistant. So we have Ms. Pam coming in to work with the board. But we have to bring this board cannot fail. And this board cannot work without the consultant to bring us back up to where we need to be, get us to training, get her to training, and get this board back on track. So that is what this position was created about back in September 2021, and we're just not getting to that point. If that makes any sense to those that just came on.
Any further?
And we're getting towards to what we got to just stick to what's on this for right now, because we're jumping all over the place, and it's not fair and right for us to do that to the young lady here, because the consultant has something to do with the board, has nothing to do with this. And this has already been voted on.
Trustee McIntyre?
So just as just a technical question, so this individual that right here under the executive assistant to the superintendent is being brought on at level 5, step 1, and I'm just wondering how you determined, that placement. I mean, I'm not questioning the qualifications because I did read the
That's how it's set.
extensive background and stuff, so
Yeah,
that's why I'm wondering.
That's how
if
it's set up, so the level is based on the experience and the education, and then the step is based on when they enter. Yeah, so level 1 is entry level.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Ms. Galloway, that is the difference in the 59,220 versus the 57,000, is that what that is? Okay.
Yep, the change of assignment, that position allots for a stipend for the additional work. So essentially, that stipend would supersede the payment for this position.
And when you say stipend, you mean the supplement agreement?
Correct.
Yeah, to each the
Correct.
BOA meetings?
Yes,
Okay.
once those payments are made, that person would supersede this position.
Right.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we will take the vote on separation number 5 to move it to the July the 20th regular board meeting. A roll call vote, trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Marone.
No.
Secretary Booth.
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
President McNeil.
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. And myself, Gilbert, is yes. We have 4 yes, 1 no, and 2 absent. And passes to separate or move it on to the regular board meeting on July the 20th. Separation number 5. Now to the separation number 6. Chair will entertain a motion from the board. Grant procurement agent, Title I office.
So moved.
You've heard the motion, been properly moved.
Second.
Properly moved to second. Any discussion? Any discussion? I just had one question. Ms. Gale, was this open, or was this?
Yes.
It's been vacant for quite a
Yes.
while, has it not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. So this individual was very much needed
Reports
to be in be in Ms. Murphy's office, right? Ms. Murphy will have some help. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, we'll take the roll call vote for separation item number 6, grant procurement agent, to move it to the regular board meeting on July 20th, 2022. Trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Marone.
Yes.
Secretary Booth.
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
President McNeil.
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. Myself, Gilbert, is yes. We have 5 yes and 2 absent. The motion to move it to the regular board meeting on July the 20th passes. Now, we go back to,
B.
we go to B, I'm sorry, thank you. All right, we have the executive assistants and superintendent assigned to the board. Chair will entertain a motion to move it to the regular board meeting.
So moved.
You've heard the motion, you've been properly moved. Is there a second?
Yes. I'm a second, yeah.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Discussion.
McIntyre?
So
all minds are not clear with the salary. I don't understand how this individual can be brought on at level 5, step 1, the same as the other individual, and it's a different pay scale. I mean, I know you explained it, but it doesn't make sense to me. Like, why wouldn't the salary is the salary, the step is the step. So it just does not make sense that the step would be lower because of additional work and additional something or other. That just sounds, that just doesn't sound, I don't know. Like I said, all minds are not clear.
Okay.
It's not clear at all to me.
Okay, so typically with the steps and the scales, there is a scale, right? So there is distance between the amount of money and there's a minimal that you can offer, right? It's my understanding that there was an offer and then there was another suggestion for what should be paid for this position, which is why you see the number that you see.
But the minimum is 59,220.
I'll have to,
Level 5, step 1.
I'll have to look at the scale to be sure of that.
Well, if you have to look at the scale to be sure of that, I mean, that should have been done before this recommendation for employment, because if it's not, then this is a problem.
Okay,
If 57,000 is below level 5, step 1, then we're not following scale.
what I am saying is that I'm not sure it's below the minimum. That's why I said I would need to see the scale to see what the minimum is. Because I think what was originally discussed with this person was a different number, and then it was determined that it should be more, and that's why we put this number here.
But do you understand what I'm saying,
I
though?
do understand what you're
If we establish them
saying.
at level 5, step 1, the minimum is 59,222.
I understand.
So how can we establish them at level 5, step 1, and have the minimum at 57 with whatever else? I don't know. Like, it doesn't.
So this position was a created position. It was offered by you all. Is that correct?
That's correct.
This was not a position that was necessarily interviewed through the HR department.
But then why aren't you offering it at a lower level or a lower step? So that.
So, okay. So, I try not to go into some details that you don't, when a person is, people are present. But this new position we were negotiating a salary, and we were trying to stay up under, for a new position, we were talking about trying to stay within the budget for the new position. Now, the scale, I'm not talking scale and I'm not talking level. I'm talking what we negotiated and what was settled with the person that is taking the position, and what I was told that was discussed with the board president as well from this person, and we ended up the other day at that number, okay? So now, if we need to discuss getting to the scale or the level, we didn't discuss, I didn't discuss that with that person. I didn't discuss this with the board president. I discussed the number that the person felt was where they can take the position. And I also am trying to fiscally be responsible to what we need to do in the district, knowing that we also have a supplemental agreement on the side with this person as well. So if there is a discrepancy with the level, with this new position, we can talk about that. But I met what the person that's taking the position and what I was told that was given to the board president. I met them at that space so we can move forward with the position. And I checked it over with my finance department. That's what we did. So if the levels and the step, all of that is something we need to go back and look at. I'm fine with doing that, but I want everyone to know that we stopped at where the candidate felt that she would be fair to her, and also that was told to me. So that's where we met at. That's where we met at.
And
Madam President.
my understanding when we had this discussion, she is replacing Monica. And we wasn't talking about levels, and that conversation came up, and we weren't for sure exactly where that level would have been at. So now that we have this document that verified that level, because we didn't have that, we was discussing between that, and nobody really had that information. I have it now, so that's a discussion that we need to have.
Okay.
And the goal is to treat everybody fair and equally. If people work and they deserve to get paid, and that is what the document says, and that's what we should honor.
Treasurer Demlo.
Yes, is this individual qualified and ready to go on day one?
I would say, yes, she is qualified. Yes, she is ready to go. However, I do believe that just as the board needs training, this person will need training as well.
Okay, thank you.
I would just say that from what the Superintendent and Ms. Galloway is saying, and Madam President, that it was a good faith conversation. And when it's a good faith conversation, you have to move from that and then take care of the business of hand of filling the position. That's the way it had worked in the past.
Absolutely.
It was just a good faith conversation, and I would just say we
Thank you.
probably need many more of those type of conversations.
And if I can say, I would have no problem discussing with finance. I would like to do that first, discussing with finance to make that. I do believe that this person will do well with the proper training, and I do believe that we could amend and make the right changes for that. No way would I want to take away, but what we were doing is having that good faith conversation, and we met the person where they wanted to be. But I think that with the new information, in light of that, I would assume that this person would say, well, hey, if this is going to be level 1 and step 5, then I should probably be there. So I would assume that as well, and I would think that that would be fair. But I would like us to, I don't see a problem moving it, because we're going to have that conversation to do the right thing, okay?
So, I mean, yeah, I definitely want to move this forward,
Yeah.
but I did highlight that because to me that is a big discrepancy
Yeah, it
that
was
we
for me
can't
too.
have, in our pay scales and with our employees. I mean, we have a scale,
It's right here.
right? I know, I've got it. I'm sitting here looking at it and it's like, this is below scale. Like, we can't do that. So we'll move, we can vote on this and then have a discussion is what you're saying, so. Okay.
The scale that each of you have, does it have the minimum on it?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
So, yeah. Well, thank you.
If I may, to my colleagues, is that I had that question too. I just wanted to know why, in my mind, it just come up. Because this, I remember the approval and the board's decision to have that person come in and assist or take on some duties that our former assistant was doing. It was too much. It was a very critical conversation when I first got on the board, and it hadn't been done at that time, and now, Madam President, I have to agree with it, it's just now being addressed.
That's not,
And that was the thing that I looked at, well, if you're gonna get that person, why wouldn't you make sure the person
Well,
is getting?
if I may, this is not an administration error or problem. This is a board issue.
I agree.
And when the boards are supposed to make sure that we follow procedure, we follow motion, this should have been done in 2021. That's when we had our top executive board assistant. And so we don't have that person anymore. And so if we had to move immediately, because then we are losing so much valuable help around here. And so we're twisting and turning about a few little thousands of dollars. But if you really understand the work of the board assistant in this administration, you know, it looked like they just, when you see that title, you think there's nothing behind it. But my God, as you come in administration, this is more than a notion. This is a lot of work. Look at the board. I'm working like I work for a full-time job, and I have a master in public administration. And I only get paid, it's almost embarrassing what I get paid, but I'm spending 8 and 9 and 12 hours. And so we shouldn't be dragging. It's 8:05, and we're still on the first page here. So, you know, what do you want to do?
I would hope that the board would just make the amendment, and we bring in this person in B, as we're bringing in the executive assistant to the superintendent that's going to be doing daily operations. We put them up both on the same scale and we move forward. Yep. I can't make that amendment. That would have to be a board member, but that's my suggestion.
I make the amendment that we move them both forward, and since they're on the same level and the same step, that it's at the same base rate of pay, so we make a change that reflects that.
Support.
You've heard the motion to amend, move into July 2022 regular board meeting of the steps from the executive assistant to the superintendent assigned to the board will be equal to the executive assistant superintendent administration building, the same amount. Is that correct?
Correct. That's what I was.
You've heard the amendment. Is there support for the amendment?
Yes.
Support. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the amendment? Roll call vote on the amendment to Trustee McIntyre. You increase. Did I say it correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, to make it equal to that. And so we'll do a roll call vote. Trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Maroney.
Yes.
Secretary Booz.
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
President McNeil.
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. And myself, Gilbert, is yes. Got 5 yes to the amendment to make this executive assistant superintendent signed to the board equal to the executive assistant to the superintendent administration bill. You got 5 yes to do that. It'll be moved to our July 20th, 2022 regular board.
Now I make a motion that we move the position to the regular board meeting, because now we have to vote on that.
Right.
So now I make that motion.
You've heard the motion to move executive assistant superintendent assigned to the board to the regular board meeting in July the 20th, 2022. Is there support?
Support.
You've heard the motion. It's been properly moved. Any further discussion?
I just want to say I'll be voting no, because we'll be hiring 3 people to do 1 position, and the sum of these 2 positions here, one that we just voted on, one that we're about to vote on, I believe was greater than the person who was doing both those jobs on time. So I'll be voting no.
Any further discussion? Say, trustee Del Marone, I'm going to vote. My main reason for doing that is because my recollection is that this has been, the board acted on this, and it was not followed through.
So that's not what happened.
Okay,
I met with our previous executive assistant, and she chose to hold off.
okay,
I want that to be clear. She chose to hold off on bringing in an assistant, and it was only because she was too busy.
okay.
So she chose to hold off on bringing in an assistant and asked me to wait.
And that was a good faith conversation as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So I understand fully.
Yes, sir.
But for me, I think that in order for the board to continue to move, we got to have this individual in place. And the quicker we get them there, the better, because they've got to come up, parliamentary procedure, revised school code law, and I'm still trying to find out what all that is and understand all that stuff. So I'm just saying that the longer we make stuff wait, it really falls back on the board.
Yes.
It's just no other way. At the same time, we got critical things and questions. I don't like walk-ons, I don't like a few things, but then I try apart, take myself out of it as best I can. So that's my only reason.
If I may ask,
Go ahead, trustee.
I guess a point of information, is anyone recording our minutes during this meeting? I see no one recording, I see no security here.
It's on video, isn't
It is. It's always recorded.
it? It's always recorded. I thought it's on video, and that's what the brother back there said.
Oh, okay. So then someone will actually look at the video and do our minutes.
Your minutes will be done by the secretary that you voted.
Okay.
And security.
Point of information, Superintendent Jones, clarify that which is executive assistant to the superintendent assigned to the board.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes,
not the executive assistant superintendent assigned to the administration building.
correct.
Right.
And yes, there's been times when we've called police officers and they did not show. We did call police officers, and so we have to continue to work on that. We don't have a person that works for the district. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other further discussion? I too had that question as well. Is that something ongoing, or is that each meeting?
It's the police officer?
Yes.
It's supposed to be at every, well, if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be a police officer at each, at the COW and at the regular board meeting,
Right.
and there's supposed to be teach-out at
Any
our
subcommittee meeting?
subcommittee.
That's
meetings.
what I thought. Yeah.
And there's been discussion about having a regular officer at the subcommittee meetings, but we haven't really moved to that.
We haven't really moved to that. We got to put us a schedule together. Hopefully we can work with the police department with a schedule. And they have that schedules, and where we can have at least one at our meetings here. And with our subcommittee meeting, because we're doing public meeting and we have to provide some type of security here. So that was what we voted in back in March, and which they're trying to secure that and get that to the officers in a timely manner so they can do their schedule. And so sometime, as of today, it didn't work out, but we're still in progress of doing a lot of things. Keep in mind, we doing administration changing, trying to get trained and stuff. So things are not perfect like you want it to be. We just gotta, get to that point. And we are aware of that, and some things out of our hand. Because that's a totally different entity over there. And they have guidelines and rules that, we have to follow as well. So we just got to follow what their protocols are to make sure that happen, and hope it won't happen again. But we're learning.
Trustee Delano?
Yeah, thanks. And we're getting a little bit offside, but what I've noticed in the last 2 or 3 of our meetings, there are many people from the public who are coming up on stage after our meetings. And in light of security for all of us, I don't think the public should be coming up on stage. We can go out to greet them, we can talk to them in the parking lot, but, it's not just one incident that happened.
Yeah.
Incidents are happening throughout the country,
Yeah, they are.
and it's people that nobody know, or they do know, but they never knew who they really were. So later in the meeting, I'll be bringing that up in a motion, try and get that worked out. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, to move Executive Assistant Superintendent to the regular board meeting assigned to the board with a roll call vote. Trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Marone,
Yes.
Secretary Booz,
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre,
Yes.
President McNeil,
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. And myself, Gilbert is yes, Trustee Gilbert. So we have 5 yes to move the Executive Assistant Superintendent assigned to the board to the regular meeting on next week.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I move that all the retirements be approved.
I'll entertain that as soon as I call the.
Oh,
I did finish calling. But it's 5 yes and 2 absent to move this to the regular board meeting on next week. And Treasurer Del Marone, you have the floor.
Yes. I move that we approve all the retirements and move them to the full board next week, on the 20th.
You've heard the motion. Is there-
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, we'll take a roll call vote. Trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Marone,
Yes.
Secretary Booz,
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre,
Yes.
President McNeil,
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. Myself, Gilbert, Trustee Gilbert is yes. 5 yes and 2 absent. The motion passes to move all the retirements to the regular board meeting on July the 20th, 2022. Okay, so now where we at? Time?
I have another motion. I have another motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 1.2, authorization to approve COVID payments to the regular board meeting on July 20th, 2022 for adoption, but I am going to try to ask the board to amend so that these payments can be made this week. As we discussed in the HR subcommittee meeting, we did not want to continue to hold people's money.
Right.
And we discussed that. And so I am going to ask the board to vote, if you will, so that these folks can be paid this week.
So move with amendment.
Heard the motion to amend Resolution 1.2, the authorization to approve COVID payments. Is there a second?
Support second.
You've heard it's been properly moved and second to amend that they be paid again, Superintendent Jones, as soon as possible?
Yes, sir. Instead of moving it to July 20th, I'd like to get them paid this week if we can, if it pleases the board.
You've heard the motion. Is all minds clear? Is there any further discussion? Treasurer Delmar.
These are payments for what? Did I hear something about a code change?
COVID
COVID,
payments.
okay.
COVID payments.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing no further discussion, a roll call vote for the amendment to authorize the approved COVID payments as soon as possible prior to the July 20th, 22 regular board meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Marone.
Yes.
Secretary Booth.
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
President McNeil.
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. And myself, Trustee Gilbert, is a yes. You have it.
Thank
5 yes to the amendment to approve the payment, COVID payments, as soon as possible before the July 20th, 22 date. That's the amendment. Now, the regular.
So I have a request, given that Attorney Gardner has been waiting patiently for over 2 hours in the audience. Can we go through the agenda of anything that he needs to be present for? Can we deal with those things?
You just did.
Okay, so
We
that was
didn't
the
know if we were
only-
going to get questioned.
Okay,
We
so
didn't
that's
know if
the
we were-
only thing? Okay,
Yes.
that's all.
We didn't know what tonight was going to.
Thank you, Attorney
any
Gardner.
questions there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so he's not, okay, I didn't know if we had
Thank you.
anything. All right.
Okay, Attorney Gardner.
Say,
Yeah, he's out.
he got up those stairs.
Trustee Del Marone.
I don't know what direction we're moving in, but we still have a resignation to deal with.
I thought you already, okay, I thought you approved those already. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The retirements we did, I don't know that we took on the resignation.
Did we put that in there?
Yeah, that was included.
I thought it was.
Yeah, they just resigned, that went
They
with
just-
the,
Yeah, I thought it was the same,
yeah, it went together.
it's the same category?
Because
But
we
you
only,
can't separate, yeah, you can't do anything with those.
Right.
They went together, they always went together.
Okay, all right,
okay.
very well. Yeah.
All minds clear, Trustee Marone?
Yeah, good question, Judge.
Okay. Now, back to our original motion, authorization to approve the COVID payments. Because it was amended, 1.2 was amended.
We're done.
You did both
We
amendments.
just did
You
that,
just
we
took
did the
care of it.
amendment, yeah,
Okay.
we're
You
done.
took
We
care
are
of it.
done, and they're gonna do it ASAP.
All right. Okay, thank you.
So we had 1.3,
Now we're at 1.3.
Mr. Jones.
Okay, I seek a motion from the board for Resolution 1.3, authorization to approve insurance vendor agreements to be moved to the regular board meeting on July 20th.
So moved.
You've heard the motion,
Support.
and properly moved and seconded. 1.3?
Mhm.
Yes.
It's just-
Any further discussion? Well, I read through it, but I'm not sure that I understand it. Seriously.
So, yep,
Catastrophic.
It's insurance.
it's catastrophic insurance.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yep, any,
Yeah,
the
1.3 here. What is
So it's an underwriting insurance for our students. So whenever there are situations that we might need to call on our insurance for in regards to student issues or catastrophic issues, the district is also proposing to add catastrophic accidental plan. Just with all of the violent happenings that have happened, we just want to make sure that we're covered.
Yeah, if I may, for my colleagues, that my question was, did it cover all the schools and all the,
Yes, yes, so most of it is a renewal. So the first portion of the insurance is a renewal of what we already have. The catastrophic is an addition. That was something that we didn't originally have.
and because of the heads up and the alerts that's going out across the country from school districts, it was added?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been heavily advised.
Right. Yeah. Any further discussion? Trustee Dillon?
So this is insurance on the students?
Well, it's basic accident insurance. So if there is any accident or any injury that involves students or on our buildings or on our property. So, and then the catastrophic are things that we wouldn't have planned, right? Those, yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move resolution 1.3 authorization to approve insurance vendor agreements to regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Dillon.
Yes.
Secretary Booth.
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
President McNeil.
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. And myself, Trustee Gilbert, is yes. So you have 5, motion passes, 5 yes, and 2 absent to approve this insurance vendor agreement. Thank you, Mr. Jones. You have no other?
Now for HR.
Thank you. Seeing no further business, I declare the Human Resource Committee of the whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor to Trustee McIntyre for the Finance and Operations Committee of the whole portion of the agenda.
I would like to call the Finance and Operations Committee of the whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
Thank you, Ms. Sharita. I'm going to ask Treasurer McIntyre, I'm going to ask that we have Mr. Michael Baker here, who's been here the entire time. He is a part of 11.3 to bring some clarity. I'm going to ask if we could get his out of the way as well, so we don't keep him any longer, and then we go back to 11.1. Okay, thank you. Mr. Baker, can you come up with our finance team? Thank you for your patience. Come on up. So board members, we're going to go to 11.3. Construction management. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move resolution 11.3, RFP 22017, construction management services to the regular board meeting on July 20th for adoption.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? About?
Yes, I would like to just make sure that the board is clear on this work. I know some of the board members are, Board President, I know some board members are clear, but the construction management work, the presentation that was given to us discusses all the work that we're trying to do in renovations, and we need a construction manager to work with us. And I'd like Mr. Baker to kind of discuss the work of the construction manager, not just with some of the renovations, but also do a writer, and getting that moving, getting the shovel in the ground and getting going.
That's right. Good evening. It's great to be in front of you tonight. Glad to see everybody here. So as Superintendent noted, we're excited about the opportunity and the potential for working with Clark Construction on Doyle Ryder. As I think they pointed out in the presentation, construction management is the preferred method of construction procurement in K-12 and really higher ed in Michigan. About 98% of the projects in K-12 are done through construction management services. The advantage of that is really that they become an advocate for the district. Much like Stantec, as your architect, is an advocate for the owner, the construction manager is also an advocate for you and for your scholars, for everybody involved in the district. You pay them a fee. They don't take a percentage on the construction itself. You pay them a flat fee, and I think that's the best way to procure construction services. The contracts are held by the district, not by a general contractor, and therefore they can act as your agent and procure those construction services, manage those construction services, and manage the budget and the schedule as we move forward. So we're very excited to potentially partner with Clark on the work at Doyle Ryder. And quite honestly, we've had other discussions about other buildings in the district and the needs of those buildings, and we're excited about that opportunity as well. Yes.
So, to the board, is my understanding that your firm, they would take care of it, you can correct me if I'm off, they would take care of everything, are they ordering furniture for the schools, am I correct?
I'm sorry, I missed
They
that.
will order furniture, they will order the lighting, they will take care of all of
Yes.
the.
And all of those trade categories, whether it be mechanical, carpentry, flooring, all of those are competitively bid within each bid category. So you're getting the best. The reason that it's done that way is because then we're able to package those in ways that we can use more local representation, more local companies can then bid on that work, because we've parsed it down small enough where some of the smaller companies can still bid on that work. It's really wonderful.
I'm glad you brought that out, because in regards to this board had put together a community partnership agreement, working with smaller companies, smaller guys. So you're saying that that's on the line that you guys would work with small companies within the community to help get us through this process, because it was very well overdue. And so I'm glad to hear that your company believes in that. Thank you.
And just to reiterate that it's following, I'm sorry, we're following everything so that anything possible that can be, ESSER dollars can be spent. I mean, this actually helps ensure the process that we're following ESSER specifications,
Yes.
so, yeah.
Yes, at first, we were discussing with the construction manager just to bring them on, but then we said, no, we need to take it through IRP so we don't have to pay for it out of our general fund. And so, yes, ma'am, we completely going through our ESSER fund.
So there's not any general funds that are in jeopardy because, oops, we overlooked this part of the process.
No.
I mean, I know it's not, but I just wanted to say it out loud so that we can just have it out
Absolutely.
in public. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Treasurer McIntyre, too. So if we have any questions as this process goes on, you have no problem coming back and talking with us.
Absolutely not. And it would be our intent to make, at superintendent's request or the board's request, to come back and make presentation updates on the work that's progressing, whether that be the architectural work that we're doing or the construction work as Clark Construction gets involved.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Montgomery.
So in regarding Dole Ryder, I've seen trucks out there for months now, work trucks. I don't see him doing anything. Is work going on at Doyle Ryder right now?
Not yet. The work that we've been contracted to do and the work that Clark Construction will be contracted to do has not begun yet. We have begun and have put together conceptual designs for the work that's going to be done. But we needed to wait until a CM was hired, or construction manager was hired, because they help to provide estimating and scheduling services as part of their pre-construction services. So having them on board, now we can really move forward with great haste, actually, in completing the documents and bidding those out and getting contractors on board.
So I think it was January that we wanted to open Doyle Ryder. Do you see that happening? January 1st of 23?
It's going to be difficult, I'll be honest with you, just based on the timing. Getting Clark on board is a great first step, getting the CM on board, but there's work to be done yet. And we have to go through a process to document the design in construction document format, get that submitted to the state of Michigan, and a couple of the bureaus there who manage or who actually review school construction per code. And then once that's complete, and while that's going on, while the state is reviewing those, the bidding process would then occur. So they're simultaneous, but yeah, it's likely that, well, I would say it's definitely not going to be January that we'll be able to move the children back into the building.
Thank you. What do you project it to be? What, February, March, after Easter?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I really want to have Clark involved in that discussion. I would be remiss if I told you March and it's something later than that. I would feel awful. I want to have the construction experts on board before we make that determination.
Okay. Students are waiting.
Just to piggyback on my comment. So once you get with Clark and you get together, that would give you a better scope and focus on what could happen on the date that it could be finished. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's important to us, especially as the board and to the community.
Absolutely.
It's very important.
I know that those scholars are being housed in another building. I know, having gone through a similar process in my district, temporarily housing students is not good for anybody. I mean, you're doing the best you can, but we have to do our work and get those kids back in the building as soon as possible.
So we don't have a chance in January. I'm just pushing because
I know, and I want to give you my honest answer. I don't think so. I don't see how that can happen. But we will do all we can as soon as Clark's on board to give you a schedule that's realistic. With the way the construction industry is right now, and supply chain issues, getting products, getting materials, getting systems. Lead times are greater than we've ever seen. So, but there's, in terms of getting it in January, I think it would be a really tough thing to do.
Any further discussion?
To Superintendent Jones. We had walked through Doyle Ryder, myself and several board members, if not all. But who was that company we walked through with?
Stantec.
Oh, okay.
So Stantec is the architect, and Clark is the construction management. And Mr. Baker was able to speak clearly to myself, board president, about the need for the construction management. And so I wanted him to come and speak to the board and answer any questions because he's our architect that has already been approved.
Thank you.
We met again at Doyle Ryder. I think it was Linda Booz, myself, and maybe another board member. And that's when the board plays the most important, crucial role in our decision making. Because Santec went through the whole, it's gonna be beautiful. When they get there, it's going to be beautiful. But we held off 2 months, just getting Mr. Clark and his company here, and which we could have done 2 months ago if the board was on board and, going through these roads, we were talking with Santec. Same thing with Door Rider. We got to move fast because every school, I called Highland Park, every school is swamped, and I think they said we're a little bit ahead of the game right about now because they're looking for construction manager. I was calling around just seeing this, and so while we got one, we better hold on to it. That's what they've been telling me from Detroit to all over. You guys got one, you better hold on because they all up here looking all up north for this type of work because all schools got these funds. All schools are renovated. And so we're kind of blessed to have it, but we don't have to move forward. And so our kids would not be over and cramped up the way that they are because we got to get over there and get Potter straightened up because our kids are going to be over at Potter. So, thank you.
He's also
Okay.
Mr. Baker walked through Potter with me today. We also discussed Northwestern. And so none of these projects can move until we get this construction management.
Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, a motion to move resolution
11.3.
No, I know it's long,
Yeah.
pages all over the place. 11.3, RFP 22017, Construction Management Services, to the regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Trustee Green is absent. Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Maroney?
Yes.
Secretary Booz?
Yes.
President McNeil?
Yes.
Myself, Treasurer McIntyre, yes. So that it's a vote of 5 yes to 0 no.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and
Good evening again. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move resolution 11.1. We're going back to 11.1. FY23 Middle Cities Risk Management Services to the regular meeting on July 20th, 2022 for adoption.
Support.
it has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move resolution 11.1 FY23 Middle Cities Risk Management Services to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Trustee Green is absent. Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Maroney?
Yes.
Secretary Booz?
Yes.
President McNeil?
Yes.
Myself, Treasurer McIntyre, yes. Motion passes by a vote of 5 yes to 0 no. Please continue, Mr. Jones.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move resolution 11.2, authorization to renew E-rate consulting services agreement to the regular meeting on July 20th for adoption.
Support.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move resolution 11.2, authorization to renew E-rate consulting services agreement to the regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Trustee Green is absent. Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Maroney?
Yes.
Secretary Booz?
Yes.
President McNeil?
Yes.
Myself, Treasurer McIntyre, yes. The motion passes by a vote of 5 yes to 0 no. Please continue, Mr. Jones.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move resolution 11.4, food services spend down plan to the regular meeting on July 20th for adoption. Again, 11.4.
Support.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Treasurer or trustee?
I guess I don't have a good understanding of what is meant on food service, what that involves or is. If someone can enlighten me.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. So, because the food service is not a for-profit, obviously, type of fund that we keep, we have to reinvest those funds back into the program. Every year after we have our final audit, we have a report which is called the FID report. We submit that up to MDE. MDE can actually see where our fund balance is within those funds. And they send a notice to us if we have more than 3 months worth of operating expenses within that fund, that particular fund, and we have to develop a spend-down plan to reinvest those funds back into the program. A significant number of large items, stoves, freezers, those type of things do need to be pre-approved before we make those purchases, but we have to develop the plan, get MDE's approval on that. Some of the things that we do have listed in the spend-down plan, they call them small wares. Those are going to be like your ladles, the little things that they need amongst all the buildings. So while, for example, as I look at that one, we have $60,000. That's going to be split between all the buildings that are actively engaging with scholars to include the central kitchen. So it's not focused on one particular building. I don't want you thinking we're spending 60 grand on ladles. I mean, it's going across that. You get your salad tongs, all of those things. And that's pretty typical. You want to reinvest back into the program. With Chartwell's being on board, I have already met with Ann. When we developed this plan here, she worked with our new food service director. They walked the buildings. They seen what was needed to, make that program grow even more than what they had planned. So this is our initial spend down plan. This is something that if we have more than 3 months operating expenditures, you will see us bring this forth more often. You probably haven't seen it before because we did have a lot because of all the federal funding that passed through. So this is where we're starting to see this now on the food service side. So we have that plan. I think the biggest one for us right now is the vehicles so we can move more food more efficiently in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move resolution 11.4 for food services spend down plan to the regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Trustee Green is absent. Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Moroni?
Yes.
Secretary Booz?
Yes.
President McNeil?
Yes.
Myself, Treasurer McIntyre, yes. Motion passes by a vote of 5 yes to 0 no. Doesn't say for me to say, go ahead, Mr. Jones, but go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Wait a minute. Okay. I seek a motion to move resolution 11.5, authorization to execute 3-year measurement and verification services agreement with Johnson Controls to the regular board meeting for adoption on July 20th, 2022.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
Support.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Can you give us a little explanation about the Johnson Controls component? I know that we're all...
To bring this before you, I want to have a little historical perspective that back in March 25th, 2019, when then Superintendent Lopez agreed to this contract, they were looking at the long-term solution to many of the building's issues regarding the heating and ventilation and all the controls, and all the mechanical involved in these variety of these projects in each one of the buildings. And in this, it was decided that they were going to have what they call a measurement and verification agreement, which is a long-term plan which allows Johnson Controls to monitor the equipment that they've installed and communicate with Flint schools directly on a regular basis over a 3-year period. And that was triggered January 1st of this year. And this was a idea where you're looking at the efficiency of equipping all these buildings by actually measuring the amount of energy that is saved, which is obviously saving in our utility bills. And by monitoring that and then analyzing that, they will actually, at the beginning of next year, they will furnish a report to us verifying that all the equipment and the mechanicals that they've improved in each one of the buildings will prove that it was all successful and that it was a great investment for Flint schools. As I mentioned, this is a year one of a 3-year agreement. So at that time, when they approved this contract, it was determined that it would take 3 years for them to monitor and to share the progress with the school board as far as the investment they made in each of the buildings.
Is this something that we RFP'd for?
This is like I said, this is part of the original contract. The original contract is a 114-page document, which covers a very large amount of legalese and details regarding all the work that Johnson Controls did. But this, again, was part of that contract, and it was agreed upon as part of that contract. But like I mentioned, it was triggered at this time because they are almost completed with all of the improvements, and this will allow them to, over the next 3 years, verify that all the work that's been done is satisfactory, and they will prove that to us with the reports that they will provide for us beginning next year.
So we have to pay money for them to prove that they did adequate work that we've contracted them to do over the years?
That is what it is. It's measurement and verification.
And that's not included in the work they've already done? This is an additional expense?
The reason we're bringing this to you, if you look at my last bullet point on the executive summary, this service had to be separate from the loan financing portion due to the state laws prohibiting recurring contractual costs. So even though this was part of the original agreement, because it's recurring over a 3-year period, it could not be involved in the original financing, or it would have been built in to basically, I think, was answering the question. If it was built in, we wouldn't be discussing this, but because it had to be separate, we had to bring it before you for approval.
So this is under Superintendent Lopez?
That is correct, yeah.
So we don't have to hire Johnson Controls to do this?
Again, this was part of the original contract, which, like I said, it's very...
So we do have to hire them to do this?
Yes, well, they're the ones that did the work. They are the ones that installed the equipment. And another part of that is they are our eyes and ears on this program. And keep in mind, we get contacted at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. I was contacted at 6:30 this morning by the engineer that is actually in charge of this measurement and verification, because we had an air compressor that was down in one of the buildings. And by doing that, we had our HVAC technician with CSM went out and checked it, and sure enough, it was down. And so he was able to start it back up, make sure it was running correctly. So it's a little more high-tech situation now where you, like I said, you have the eyes and ears watching. And this is just for the 3 years. You know, after that, it's on us as far as to monitor it. But they have given us training on the Medisys. We actually have our own device that we monitor remotely. Alan Velez, who's our HVAC tech, he has a tablet, which is furnished by the school. And then I have my computer at my desk that we can log in and monitor the temperatures in the buildings. We can monitor equipment that is down. And in some of this, it's a little detailed, but in the one line item here, it's the fifth one from the bottom, is they can adjust the set points of when the systems turn on and turn off. And so you can make, you know, a lot of adjustments to create the efficiencies and the money savings by adjusting basically the thermostats and the valving in the system to make the systems more efficient, more comfortable for the people in each one of the buildings.
So what happens if we don't vote for this, if we vote no?
Well, this is, they're halfway through the first year of this agreement, and you have every right to not renew this if you want. And like I said, it was scheduled for 3 years based on the original contract. But if the board wishes to not renew this for whatever reason, you have that right. We'll bring it back to you each year for you to renew it or not.
So if we don't renew it, does it violate the contract?
I think it would. I think. Well, again, that's why it's in the contract. I'm sure we could have a legal opinion on it, but.
So it's my understanding with what you let us know, Mr. Pete, that this has already been arranged.
Correct.
We're bringing this to the board so that you know this is
Exactly.
a part of that arrangement, an already approved item.
Yes.
And so we're in year one of this.
Yep.
We have to pay year one.
Yes.
We're going to go into year two, and we're going to have to end up paying year three. This is not something that is new. This has already been approved.
Exactly.
Okay.
And again, and I realize, with this agreement being approved, in prior administration, prior boards, but it is something we had to bring before you. With Tish and Mr. Jones, and we discussed it, and we can't just pay this without your consent. We have to bring it before you, and hope you understand that. And I think Mr. Lopez's way his intent was to make sure that when Johnson Controls was completed, that they were educating us, making sure everything was working properly for the future use of these buildings for decades to come. I think that was his intent.
Thank you.
Pastor Gilbert, you had...
Yes, I guess, Pete, I guess my problem is that it sounds like we're stuck with it. That's what it sounds like. And I mean, when I say stuck, all capitals, that's what I'm talking about. And then on page, I guess it's 131. So this situation at number 15, I don't know if you were present or you were here, but it says closed Northwestern High School locker room and gym area for 3 years. After 3 years, from the contract signature, 1 year, year one of the M&V period to capture agreed upon utilities savings. Does anyone know if that happened?
That's what the study is.
Okay, so the
That's
study
a part of the
is-
study.
Yeah, that's part of the study.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So and then on page 133, I looked at this earlier this morning. I seen Superintendent Lopez's signature on it, so that raised a question for me. It sounds like we gotta live with it. that sounds like we gotta live with it, you know, because of year 1, year 2, and year 3. So, that's all I have. Thank you.
So, several questions to put some sense to it for me. This has already been approved.
Yeah.
Why do we have to approve it again?
Because it's a separate item. In other words, it wasn't paid for in the original financing, the original bond that we took out. It had to be separated by law because it's a recurring cost.
And they're already into the contract,
That's correct.
so we've been paying them.
Yes, we've been paying them all along for all the services that they provided.
Okay, someone should be paid for services provided, but
Wait, we have not paid this invoice for the measurement and values yet. I do want to articulate that has not ran through our AP department. I have not authorized payment on that one.
Yeah.
so if we don't approve, they don't get paid? Is that it?
If we don't approve it, they don't get paid, but then we have to now deal with the contract. Now we have to not deal with breaching the contract.
I don't understand, it's come up a couple, 2, 3 times.
Here's some,
How do we get people, companies to work for us without a contract? Knowing that we may not be able to pay them, they may not get paid. Who does that? I mean, if someone comes out to do a roof on your house, they want 50% down before anything.
We have a contract.
Yeah.
We have a contract. We have an assigned, approved contract for this work. It has not been paid yet.
That's what we said.
That's the reason for it coming to the board, for your knowledge and understanding, and for you to approve us to go ahead and pay this invoice. Otherwise, this invoice is sitting without board approval. And I understand where the board is because I was there. And I get it, and I'm still there. However, it was a part of the contract that was signed in 2019. However, it had to be separated out. And so now it's time to pay year 1. So we need to be able to pay year 1 with your permission. And I need to make sure that the board's eyes is on it so you know. So when we do budgeting and it comes back and you say, what's this $38,000 expense for JCI? You know what it is. So that's the purpose of bringing it forward.
That's what I'm saying. Why did this come to us before they started 6 months ago?
In 2019, on a totally different superintendent, it was a big conversation about JCI. Lopez went into a contract with them, 3-year contract. And
In 19.
2019, here we are in 2022. In addition to that contract, there was an attachment, which is this, agreement that's already in that contract. Now it's up. This first installment is due from a contract signing in 3/25/2019. I remember those conversations coming to the board meeting. And so JCI is over at Northwestern. It was agreed upon from previous board. We can't undo that. We can sit here and talk all day long, but it was approved and done by previous board with this attachment, which they're bringing for us, because anything over $5,000, we still have to approve it. And so what they're asking us, we're just following the contract. The agreement that the Board of Education made with JCI, it's not about whether we like them or not, it's just this is an agreement. It's their contract and it's part of it, and we have to honor it. It happened on our watch, it happened in 2019.
And I can't speak to you about why I didn't come to you last August.
Right.
I wasn't in place there, neither was Pete, and neither was Tish.
So the contract was entered into in 2019. This is
Yes.
2022, 3 years later. What's happened in between that? Was the contract agreed to in 19 for work to be done? in
They
21?
had to install all the equipment. They've been installing equipment since 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. They're just completing the entire equipment install. So they've been able to see some of that work, like Northwestern. They've been able to see some of the savings.
Okay. And they haven't been paid at all yet?
No.
Nothing. Okay.
Is it possible that we can get, or is it just my own insecurity about it as far as legal is concerned, to look at this?
We can get legal if you want.
I mean,
It's gonna, I do believe, Pastor, I hear you.
and I'm prejudiced, I'm
Yes,
just
sir.
saying that, because.
I do believe it's gonna come back the same.
Okay,
After reading it over before Mr. Pete brought it to you, it's gonna come back that we're gonna need to adhere to the contract.
Right.
That we've entered into.
I mean, it looks that way, it's no, in my mind, it's here. So, it just, Johnson control, it just, I don't know. But I think, Madam President is correct, I mean, it's here, it's nothing, we gotta follow through with it, and I mean, that comes with the board has to do, that comes with it too, you know, so.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move resolution 11.5, authorization to execute 3-year measurement and verification services agreement with Johnson Controls, Inc. to the regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Trustee Green is absent. Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Moroni?
Yes.
Secretary Booz?
Yes.
President McNeil?
Yes.
Myself, Treasurer McIntyre, yes. Motion passes by a vote of 5 yes to 0 no. Mr. Jones, proceed.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move resolution 11.6, authorization to approve demolition and cleanup of rooms 57 and 58 at Southwestern Academy for Robotics Laboratory to the regular board meeting for adoption.
So moved.
Support.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Gilbert.
Treasurer McIntyre. Superintendent Jones, I read this and I was somewhat elated because they said they could do the renovation at no cost to the district. I mean, these are principals and it's teachers and staff. I mean, this is something to be supportive of and proud of. Not many people are going to do. It just needs to be put out there when this is, as it goes along. I mean, really,
Yes,
it
sir.
does. And I'm not trying to be facetious here because it says at no cost to the district. Just about everything that comes along, the district has got to eat the cost. And this is, I might even go over and pick up something. I don't know.
Well, we wanted to just make sure, the reason this was something that was brought to previous administration, but we wanted to make sure that we were not violating any coding, violating any, architectural laws.
Right.
And so, Mr. Madure, thank you for getting Stantec involved to ensure that we appreciate
Yeah,
that.
that's
So,
there, yeah.
so just due was done to ensure that we can move forward with this.
So if I go ahead,
No, you go ahead.
the Michael Baker, is that what you're talking about?
That was just who was here.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I thought.
Yes, sir.
He was kind enough to walk through both the rooms. He could see very clearly that these were not structural. They basically split a room in half, and we're going to remove everything that was part of that, bring it back to the original size. And one other item I would like to add is we have the General Motors Student Corps will be in Southwestern over the next few weeks. And they have 9 Southwestern students that are being paid to do work around the building. They did this several years ago, but with the pandemic, it took a pause for a few years. But Jerry Lehman, who is the person that runs this, was very excited when we showed him this robotics laboratory. And he wants his students to be part of that. And where I'm going with that is they would like to do it now. They would like to start right away while they have the students in the building. The dumpster is already on site. We can start tomorrow if we can get that approval from the board tonight. If not, we can wait, but we would love to get started on it right away.
I'd just like to add some information to this, if I may. When I first came on board, Principal O invited me to take a tour of the building and just to meet and greet the staff and, you know, become familiar more familiar with Southwestern. This is one of the highlights of the tour. People are excited. The excitement is palpable. It's something that, you know, it's like you want to pick up a sledgehammer and like, I'm ready to go. Let's go do this. I think it's really exciting. It involves theoretical and practical applications of STEM. I mean, it's a win-win for the district, and so I think it's a no-brainer. And if we can start projects like this is the excitement that we can generate in all of our schools. Like we've got, this is what Flint does. We see something, we see where we can improve it, and we do it. You know, it doesn't matter how, what, when, where. You know, we're going to pick up the equipment and do it. I mean, obviously we're going to get the okay and make sure that there's, you know, it's structurally okay. But you can. This is Flint to me. This is what we do. So I just kind of wanted to add that this has been out there, and I'm excited, and we need more of an excitement. Chris.
Let me start off by saying it sounds like union work to me. So where are the unions at on this?
There is no union. This is a project that is almost 4 years in the making.
Sure.
If you would like to add union employees and turn this into a regular project, we can do that.
No, we can't. No,
But that would cost you tens of thousands of dollars for the work that we're going to do for free. So,
no.
Well, you know, free is one of those 2 most popular terms in America.
Right.
Free and all you can eat, all right? And if you can get them both together, that's great. But, you know, it'd be like the company, the school district, bringing in a teacher who wants to work for free, to volunteer, to teach the students. You think the union's going to let that go by? Not have to join the union, not have to pay dues, not have to do anything?
there are dozens and dozens of community projects that go on in Flint every week that do not involve unions. And I support unions, but in this case, what we're trying to do is improve one of our buildings, trying to create a space for our robotics lab, and to do it the right way. And that's why we brought it before the board, to make sure you were aware of it and that you had
Mr.
had your
Pete,
blessing.
And it's to my knowledge that no one has been asked to do this work. This is just volunteers coming to say, hey, we want to be a part of what you're doing. Because it started out with Mr. Pete and Mr. O. And so I think we should do a due diligence because it's just been brought up. I think we need to do a due diligence now to ensure that we speak to our leaders in that particular union so that they understand, and we all have an understanding that anybody that wants to work on this project is giving of their time. So we'll do our due diligence. If we, it's not real until you put it in writing. So we will follow that protocol.
Oh, I appreciate that. But I'm thinking a strong union advocate, the president, whoever, is going to say, no, that's our work. We've been contracted to do.
And we don't have that type of union, though. We don't have a labor maintenance construction union.
Oh,
We don't have that.
who changes the light bulbs in
Our third party CSM,
the, okay.
third party, we don't have a union for maintenance. However, I'm saying that since it's been brought up in the meeting, we need to do a due diligence now to ensure that everyone understands what this project is.
Yeah, and I think if there is, excuse me, no union or, excuse me, in-house employees who can do the work, it may not be an issue. And in regards to, there are a lot of community things going on, but when people sign up and do a park cleanup on a Saturday, that's just people coming together. I'm not saying you gotta form a union to clean the park. But, so if there's no union there, it's not an issue. If there's no union there that normally does this work as part of their regular tasks, then I don't see an issue. But if there is a union there, I would say talk to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pastor Gilbert.
Thank you. This is my last point. I see on page 89, I guess, or 35, I don't know which one. It says electrical will be disconnected by CSM electricians. I just heard you mention them. And so is that a third party? Or is
Yes,
that,
sir.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's our maintenance crew.
Yeah, maintenance crew, okay. Just check it.
Any additional discussion? Okay, seeing none, no further discussion, the motion to move resolution 11.6, authorization to approve demolition and cleanup of rooms 5758 at Southwestern Academy for Robotics Laboratory to the regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote as I call your name. Please say yes or no to approve this motion. Trustee Green is absent and Trustee Gilbert.
Yes.
Vice President McIntosh is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Del Maroney.
Yes.
Secretary Booz.
Yes.
President McNeil.
Yes.
Myself, Treasurer McIntyre, yes. Motion passes by a vote of 5 yes to 0 no. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
Seeing no further
Thank
business. Oh, yes,
Just a clarification, you talked about due diligence regarding the union issue. Would it be okay if we started just part of the project?
I would like us to, first thing in the morning, you
Okay.
and I discuss.
Perfect.
And we'll move appropriately.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
As a board, I mean, you're saying you'd like to start tomorrow. So
Yeah,
this
we
is an
could.
authorization to bring it forward to the regular meeting, is that
No, he asked for that to be changed to move it.
to move it? So
To get it done now.
do we need to reiterate as a board our willingness to allow this to go forward tomorrow?
So,
I mean, I guess I'm,
so that's not the issue.
Okay.
The issue is because any union was brought up, I want to make sure that we are not violating the unions that we have in any way by having some of their people help. Because it was brought up, I don't want something to come up and we didn't do something right. So I just want to make a phone call tonight before things get started and do our due diligence to ensure that's not going to be an issue. I don't think it is, but I still want to cover us. So I agree that we need to get started right away. I just want to make sure I make a phone call and get that right.
okay. And I'd just like to state for the record, as a member of 2 unions currently, that I am all for union representation and doing union work. And I'm kind of befuddled with the fact that a board member doesn't have any issue with park cleanups and volunteer work. And there's something, this is akin to the same type of of project. I don't understand what the issue is and why there has to be confusion and mess, I guess, brought to something that could be just, 100% positive and joyful to the community. So, everyone knows where I stand. I'm a rabid union supporter, so like I'm not blocking any union business. I'm really confused about that. So I just wanted that to be stated for the record, Chris.
Yeah, so let me give some clarification. To me, it sounded like union work. I didn't know we did not have a union that does that type of work. I'm not against robotics. I'm not against volunteerism. I've volunteered thousands of hours and just got done doing out of the city some volunteer work. So I think we're on the same page. My problem was that it just sounded like union work to me when you get into construction and things like that, destruction, whatever you call it. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to make any further comments? Otherwise, seeing no further business, I declare the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor over to President McNeil for the Board Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda. Time of adjournment, 9:22.
I would not call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening again. We seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 21.1, authorization to approve board consultant to the regular board meeting on July 20th for adoption.
So moved.
Support.
It has been in proper moved and second. Is there any discussion? Yes, Trustee Delron.
Yeah, so I believe this is the position that we just had retirement out of,
The consultant,
and we've hired 2 people to do the work. How long will this person be coming back for? And do we have a rate of pay?
Yes.
You have a consultant agreement package in front of you.
Information, Madam President.
Yes.
On page 5, under 4 of the consulting services agreement, it's got compensation.
It's in the contract.
Yes. It's in your packet.
Yeah.
It,
What
Trustee
they should
Delron, it was added on,
Yeah.
Miss Pam.
This right here.
Yeah, that one right there, yeah, that's it.
And so I'm looking at page 5 for wages.
Yes, compensation under 4.1.
What number? I'm looking at page 5.
Page, I'm sorry, page 2 of 5, I'm sorry. Where it says number 4, compensation.
$150 per hour?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm guessing that we knew that the retirement was coming. Maybe not. But why wasn't this training done while the employee was still working for us?
You're asking me?
Well, whoever knows why. When did she put in her letter of retirement?
What was that? Was it May? The letter of retirement for the previous executive assistant. June? Okay. So there was directives given for that training to take place. There was still board meetings happening. There was things that we asked to be completed. I can't speak to why those things are not done totally. Board president might be able to help with that, but to answer your question, we did ask for those trainings to take place. But I would say, we did ask for those trainings to take place.
Point of information as well, if I can expound on this. It's more than just being trained and teaching a person how to go to a file and open up this and do that. Your board administrative, executive administration carries almost the workload of your parliamentary, almost like your legal advisor. And this is what we're seeking. This board needs training on meeting packet process and annual expectation, meeting posting requirement. We have a requirement by the state to do document retention requirement. If that room that's downstairs, you go in that right room over there, they just in boxes and everything. But the state required that we have a document retention requirement. Your new administration person need guidance on FBO past practices. Other assistance is required by the board executive assistant. As it relates to any board president, not me, or any board executive, the board election preparation have to be executed according by the state. That person would come in and be your consultant to help this person get that experience. Assist with on-board and new board member. That's part of the person, the consultant would come in and do this. Guidance on oath and officer practices. The consultant would have to come in and do this. No one else have done this. Preparation for annual organization meeting. And other assistance is required by any of your board president. So it's not that board, Monica Esther did not do any training. She did what she could do with the workload and under the condition that she was able to work at. Then she got to deal with just learn how to do your package and stuff. So the consultant is only coming in when requested, just like we did with Sikowski. She retired, she left, we brought her back because the board needed help. Right now, the board does not have a functional, we are not functional, we are not as strong. We're at the top, and we're gonna remain at the top. I don't care who leads. We'll not be lamed up because one person retired and not being able, the consultant is ready to come back and build this board up to the capacity that we have. There's a lot of things that we have to do for the new administrative assistant that we have, and it's fair to her to have the consultant there for the board as for training, because we got this election coming up. That's coming up. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm not going to do it because I'm just a board member. That's why we have administrative assistant. And so these are the requirements that we need from Ms. Pam to help the board. So that's what the consultant, it's not like she's coming to, your consultant don't come to work. Your consultant has a contract. This is what we need you to do. This is the process that we need you to do. Keep in mind, you're talking about a person that's been doing this for 30 years, no interruption. And now we're starting from ground zero. And we cannot put this in anybody left as well. You got 2 executive assistants coming here. They're gonna have to probably help each other. Because you had a 30-year person running this whole shift. And then at the same time, she's willing to even help the superintendent. It's a lot we got to do. We got to get this superintendent evaluation. We got to get this done. Going on 2 years, you've never done it. We haven't done anything. We got to get back on track according to policy. And not worry about what is not done by your executive administration, because now it's going to be a lot easier for the board, and we have 2 different people doing 2 different things. So those are some of the things that we went through, the song that the board needed. The consultant said she didn't mind coming back, doing that as a consultant, same thing that Sikowski was doing. So if there's any more discussions?
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
thank you. I was wondering about the time period, because I certainly want our new executive assistant to have everything that she needs so that she can be at her best,
Yes.
which I'm confident she's going to be that, but also to be able to get through the minefield too. And it's pretty tough. And so I'm just asking, how long do we think that this consulting service agreement may go? Just, I know you don't know.
We don't know, because we don't know what all we got to do. We can't even get laptops. I mean, we need laptops. We need some technology that we have ordered. She cannot start until August the 1st. She cannot have any communication with the board until August the 1st. And that's when that consultant comes in, and that's pushing it, because we got another board meeting coming, and we got some training that's out there that we have to get done. So the consultant would come in August the 1st, and set their schedule as needed. I'll probably be working with administration, your treasurer, your secretary, and we'll work together and see what all we need to get done. But you can't put them on a time limit. It's just like with Ms. Sokowski. When we need Ms. Sokowski, what we do? We call her up. She's not coming in working on the clock and building just to be building. She's not coming. She's coming in as requested, and she knows exactly what she's coming in to do. And so that our assistant would be just as effective as she.
Thank you.
And that's why they get paid the bucks. Somebody got to do the work. Any more discussion?
Yes.
Sure.
President, you had mentioned something about evaluating the superintendent, and we won't be able to do that until we tell him what we'll be evaluating him on.
That's not true.
That's not true.
MASB has spoken with us. We can start that evaluation process, because it's not like you're going to walk in and just do this whole evaluation. You're going to be evaluated on what we know that he has done. They're going to walk us through the process, because this would be this board first time since I've been on it that this process has taken place. And it's have to take place because we are governed by the state.
Point of order, Madam Chair. This is good.
No,
I know, it's good, and
he asked a question.
I know he did, but we need to take care of the board consulting agreement first.
Well, Chris, if that all, because all of this is going to fall under the consultant as well. But go ahead. Is there any more discussion? Thanks, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you, Madam President.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move resolution 21.1, authorization to approve board consultant to the regular meeting for adoption, will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no. Trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Demolition.
Yes.
Secretary Booth.
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee Gilbert.
Yes,
Vice President McIntyre is absent, and myself is a yes. 5 yes and 2 absent. Let's go with you, Mr. Jones. I believe.
We seek a motion and a second for Resolution 21.2, authorization to approve architectural design for Northwestern to be moved to the regular board meeting for adoption.
second.
Second. Oh, is it on me? Oh, okay. It had been properly moved and second. Is there any discussions? Trustee Chris Demaroni.
So we haven't decided as a board what we'll be doing with Northwestern, so
We did.
what did we decide to do?
During the,
Because last time we took a vote, and I wanted to see the documentation that said we would have Northwestern as a high school, and everyone voted against me, And there never was a decision to keep Northwestern open as a high school.
During the vacancy workshop meeting, we all voted and approved to keep the school that we're gonna keep and look at renovating. We all took that vote, and Northwestern was included in that vote at your vacancy property workshop. And we kept those schools open, and we agreed to keep those schools open. The second thing that we would have to do is to determine the feasibility of the cost to go in and do anything at Northwestern. What would it cost us? That's the second thing that we have to look at, and that's what this is about, if that makes any sense. And you're correct when you first asked that question, and we couldn't get back to find out when that happened, because that happened during the workshop when everything went chaotic. But however, at the vacancy workshop meeting, Mr. Jones went through all the schools we're gonna keep, the board voted on it, and now we're going back to Northwestern to look at, getting an architecture, go over there to see what it would cost, just to see what it would cost. That's been recommended that before we move forward, we need to see what it's going to cost us to look at Northwestern. And then there was a suggestion how we would do that.
So,
That's a board.
so I'm thinking that if we open it as a K through 8 or a middle school, what we would want done inside the building would be different for one versus the other.
That's what your architecture design is to do. He would go in, sometimes they can do a 3D scale and tell you what that would look like. We talked about certain things that we wanted in Northwestern, and that's what they have the responsibility to do. And when we decide to do that, once again, the board would go in and do a walkthrough like we did with Door Rider and have those discussions. Am I correct, Mr. Jones?
Yes, so we know that the board wants to do something on the north side, and of course the district does as well. And trying to find out how much Northwestern is going to cost us may result in saying we might as well demo it and build a new K-8 school. And after talking to Stantec today, we are setting up an appointment to go over. But again, you know, the thought of just remodeling as it is, you won't be able to just use it as a K-8. You would probably just use it as a middle school, but we've done that already. And so thinking about closing buildings, and we're gonna have to do that. It's gonna be something that we need to start talking about in August. Northwestern is a prime spot. It is a spot that holds not only our driving range, but it holds Houston Stadium. And it also holds the tennis courts and things like that. So just re-envisioning that building, you know, what I put in the grant proposal for mine is envisioning a K-8. However, the board has to determine if it's going to be a middle school or a K-8, and we go from there. However, Stantec and the construction management company can go in and help us to determine whether we just need to demo and start over, or renovating will be the best choice. So that's what this is about, is moving on Northwestern. There has been no vote to do anything with Northwestern. As we've looked in the archives, and I had our executive assistant look, there's been no vote to do anything with Northwestern.
Yeah, I think K-8 would be a good possibility. It would allow us to close 2 schools, and you know, the net would be 1 school being closed. 2 schools being closed would be Holmes and help me with the other one there.
Holmes and Brownell.
Holmes and Brownell. Instead of Port, I mean, you can't have Holmes and Brownell and Northwestern at the same time. It ain't gonna work. I don't think it will. Okay, I'm done.
Any more discussions?
Yeah. President, just shortly. So Superintendent Jones, is that you feel like that it's something that could work, possible, and we have to start because I hear urgency in your voice. That's what I hear.
As we think about renovations and as we're thinking about working with community partners, there's an urgency in time.
That's what I thought.
And if we're going to bring on construction management, we need to get it all done and bring a big proposal to the board and say, hey, this is how much everything's going to cost us. And our sunset is 2024 for ESSER, and we haven't even given a grant proposal to the foundation to discuss these matters. And so, in re-envisioning the north side, if we think about utilizing that space properly, I see being a K-8 would be really good for us, not totally renovating, but demoing and building up a new school. You pull from some of those smaller elementary schools that are academies that are really not hanging on. You pull from the other districts surrounding that area, right across Clio. And again, the optics of a new building there would definitely help the district. And then you close 2 buildings. That right there in itself pulls back on the cost that we have as a community. Now, how that looks, because I know that there's a concern of families saying, hey, I don't want my small babies with those older babies. How the building is constructed makes the difference in that. You won't have an 8th grader going down the kindergarten hallway. There will be no reason for that, because if you construct the building properly, as Stantec has discussed, then there will be no reason for any crossover. But it will help families because you have a one-stop shop. And so that's the visioning behind that, if that helps.
Also, Mr. Jones, when we were talking about, even if we were talking about demolishing 10 Northwestern down and rebuilding it, we will have to have league involved in this because the city council, you listen to them, they're doing a lot of zoning, green space over there. We don't want to tear that school completely down because we know it's up for grab to try to turn it into solar panels or something else. We want to make sure we grandfather in to rebuild a school in that area as it relates to zoning.
And so, as it pertains to, correct, as it pertains to the strategic plan, we have spoken about 4 new elementary buildings. And speaking to Stantec, it's already a school building. It's already zoned for us to be a school building. So you won't have that worry because it's already zoned to be a school building. The only thing that we need to do is determine, are we going to renovate this building or are we going to try to work to tear it down and build up a whole new building over there and work on the sports complex and the driving range.
And that makes sense. Is there more discussion?
Is
Trustee Demolition.
Is work currently going on at Holmes and Brownell?
There's no work currently going on. We've talked to Stantec about the roof at Brownell.
Yeah.
Because, this work is going to take a while, and that roof is about to give in. So we need to get busy on that roof as well, but you've already approved us to be able to start renovations. And I just want to make sure that the board understands, like Mike stated, you can approve a renovation, but there's going to be some things we have to do after that process before you see a shovel, or before you see someone go on top and tear it all down and put it up. So things are happening, but we're at the paper part. We're at the paper pencil approval part, licenses.
Yeah. That'll be done with ESSER money?
Yes, sir.
Very good. I just don't want to see us spending money on a new roof and then closing the school and tearing it down.
And I think making this decision at Northwestern is going to determine that before we get to doing anything extra right now. Is there any more discussion? Okay, as I call your name, please say yes or no. Is authorization to approve architecture design for Northwestern. Trustee Green is absent. Assistant Secretary Treasurer Demolition.
Yes.
Secretary Booth.
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
President McNeil. Yes. And Trustee Gilbert.
Yes.
Vote passes 5 yes, 2 absent. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Where's my paper at? At this point, is there any different remarks from the board member? Excuse me, Trustee Gilbert?
Yes, Madam President, we had a public comment today from Ms. Sharice Lee, the attorney. Myself, as a trustee and a board member, we have to address this one way or the other. This is what we have to do. And for me, I just think that we should take care of the business that is at hand. It sounds like, and I could be wrong, but it sounds like she had requested to come before the board and has not got a reply back, basically. And if she has invoices and she done the work, and there's a contract there, we have to do what is our part as part of the contract. She has a right to come and make public comment. There's no question about that. She does. But having a contract with her and not being able to come before us, that's a different situation. In my mind, it is. Because I think that it's important that we either decide we're going to hold our part up or we're not going to for whatever reasons. And we do it as a board. So it's a whole lot more I could say about it, but I just want the board to be in the best place that it needs to be and try to keep all the mess and stuff down. And Ms. Lee, her invoices should be taken care of one way or the other. And if we don't do that, then all of us as board members and trustees, it's on us. So the thing that I'm saying is that if she needs to come before us, because I have questions, I don't know about the rest of my colleagues, but I have questions, that we need to do that. I'm not going to make a motion. I could, but I'm not, because I want to try to come to some type of common ground here, if at all possible. That's what I'm trying to do. But we can't keep, as they say, kicking the can down the road. For me, if the contract says her invoices should be paid in a certain time, if it does say that, then we should do that. And so that is my only comment. It's just, I think someone said earlier, we got a lot on our table and this is part of it. And so we've got to deal with it, and we should deal with it. So that is all the comment that I had.
Trustee Demolition?
Yes, I move that we have a closed session meeting with Attorney Lee next Wednesday, July 20th at 4 p.m. or some other time that's agreed to by the board to discuss all the issues.
Support.
I didn't know to support that we have a meeting Wednesday with attorney leave. Has it been seconded? Do we need a roll, is there any discussions?
Well, I'll say it's very important that we take care of our bills. And we heard it mentioned this evening, I don't know, not going to court, but to try and force the board and district to pay her money. And, you know, all that stuff is, let me say, a waste of time if she's due her money. And like Board Member Gilbert said, it's, you know, we got to deal with the issues, deal with the issue. So I'm going to be voting yes for this, just so there's an understanding of what she needs or wants and what our obligations are. I mean, I've heard other things about the work that she should be doing, maybe as opposed to someone else. So there's more than just one issue about it.
What would the agenda be for the closed-door meeting? In order to have a closed-door meeting, you have to follow the Open Meetings Act. So what would be the grounds for having a closed-door meeting with a vendor?
Well, to avoid possible litigation.
Well, you're going to need to come up with an agenda that's specific that meets those grounds. I mean, you can request a closed-door meeting, but I don't understand. I don't see what the grounds are.
Well, she talked about getting a judgment, I believe, for her pay, for her compensation. So before we get there, I think...
Point of information, if a vendor comes before the board and makes some kind of statement or threat like that, we don't have closed door, that's not grounds for a closed door meeting. So again, what would your agenda be and the grounds for the closed door meeting?
Is her contract open to the public? Do we have access to that? Okay. Anyone?
I would say that our contract is not open to the public. We have to remember that Attorney Lee is a lawyer. So I don't see how she would agree to a contract in the presence of everyone in an open meeting setting. It can be approved. It can be approved
Sure.
On
in
of
an open meeting
information.
setting.
I hear what both of you are saying. We also have a policy as it relates to you, the board attorney. Their contracts are annually, not 3 consecutive years. You're in HR, and when you do the evaluation, no district has a board attorney for 3 consecutive years. That can be corrected based on our investigation, even though we voted for it, but because it's against the policy, that's number 1. Number 2, the policy states that the attorney come and reports to the president and the superintendent. She gets any attorney gets their direction from the president or the superintendent. I have requested several times since I've been president, I need to speak with you concerning some very serious issues. She wants to tell me what she wants to do. She only wanted to talk to 1 or 2 board members. Not one attorney that I have dealt with does that. We question some things. Even art is questioning this building she's doing. Right now, you guys said pay her. We done paid her $42,000. Hadn't been to court no more than 1 or 2 times. And then we got another combined 30 some more $1,000. And all you guys are saying is pay, pay, pay. Now we in audit today looking at this. A whole year, billing for something that the board has not even approved. This is what I'm asking this attorney. Come and have, according to policy, you report to the president and the superintendent. And that is what I have asked her to do from day one of this here contract that you created on your own. You have to come before the board, or not the board, then we have this conversation. You do not get the right to say, I want to have a closed door session and do what you want to do in the closed door section, throwing checks at us and I'm not this and I'm worth this and give me this. That is illegal. What we're trying to get this vendor to say, I don't care who you're friends with, you got to follow the policy. You wrote this contract for 3 years. I just filed this contract when I became president. It is supposed to be for a year. She is no better than any other vendors, no better than Trump. They follow the same process. You can go talk to him all day long. First thing they do, they come to the president and the superintendent. She has not done that. Those invoices goes to Treasury. If Treasury got a question about those invoices, she have to respond to it. Why is everybody clap, clap, dump, dump for this new person? And we're supposed to be, Kendall had a bill for almost $70,000. This person been here, and we keep pay her, because you know we're gonna be mad. Pay her, and you look at them invoices. Even the auditor is questioning her. And you guys sit here as a board, never looked at those invoices. I just pulled them myself. $18,000, $17,000, $8,000. And here's another thing. We was denied. The 4 of us had a lawsuit. We was denied to even get the emails from Mid-City, who is paying for us. We don't even have to pay Sharice. They're paying for us individually. They was told, you don't give them that information. You don't make a decision over my livelihood. It's a lot of things that you guys don't know that this person is running. Why do we need a attorney when we just now, the 3 of us just now, getting an email saying that they have represented us free, been held up, been threatening people, not to even give me that information, or her, or Danielle. And you want me? I came on this board to serve this district, the children, and the teacher. I am not going to babysit no whining vendor that wants to do what they want to do when we asking you to come. We got to be held accountable. The treasurer holding those invoices. We done asked her, but no, she gonna run to somebody else. Pay me 5 hours here. If she CC, all them CCs you guys get, she bills for that. You can't ask her nothing. She bills for that. And you want me? I'm not gonna prove it. She gonna have to do what's right. Like Kendall had, she the one said Kendall was fraudulent. She couldn't prove that. We went along with it. You couldn't prove that. We ended up paying $100,000 because of poor legal opinion. Now you just constantly billing us like we some guinea pig. You didn't get the $125,000 you want. So what are we at now? We at $70,000 if we pay these invoices. For what? We pulled the court. They pull in the court. Hadn't been to court no more than 2 or 3 times. We don't even know what we're charged for. But you're just billing. Now, you can take a vote, but she's to come according to policy, not according to your buddy pals and all of that. Come and stand before the president and Mr. Jones and answer whatever the treasurer have to say. We need to find out what direction you're going. You never see them doing what they want to do. This is the only person doing what what she want to do and just bleeding us. 18,000, 17,000, doing what? True, they even sent us, and y'all know we uses them. We ain't got $17,000 bill from them, never. So, I don't know what you want, but she has an obligation according to policy. I have contacted her. She goes back and CC everybody, and I tell her, go to page this, go to the policy. Let's have a conversation with the president and the superintendent. Has she answered to you, Mr. Jones? No. Won't even answer. But she answered to you. Go ahead, Mr. Gibbons.
Well, Madam President, I guess my point is this. After everything that you have said, I keep hearing you say that it's according to policy, the president and the superintendent and someone else.
No, I didn't say no one. I'm
Now, when you were talking, did I ever interrupt you? I would appreciate if you would give me the same courtesy. I would appreciate that. Okay, thank you. My problem is that it is a problem for the district. That's what it is. You're saying something, and you're saying it's according to the law, it's according to policy. You may be right. You could be right. But the problem that I have is that it's a problem for the district. That's the problem that I have. And whatever she CCs to me or to anybody else, we all on this board have CC'd things to members of this board. But if there's a contract, you're saying that it is terminated within a year, that's according to policy. That contract is looked at as a vendor and that it doesn't extend beyond. And it was a mistake to make it prior to when I came aboard. Well, let's get into that. Let's fix it. Let's straighten it out. And if the board doesn't want a contract with Ms. Lee or Troon or anybody else, the board has a right to vote board action to do that. Now, Madam President, you can take it or leave it. But I'm a trustee, just like you. We all are. We're all equal. The responsibility as our president of this board is on you. I'm looking for you to do just what you just said, to follow policy. Now, we've had a motion. It's been properly seconded. We can keep talking about it, or we can call for the question. I don't want to do that because I think it's critical. That's just my view on all of us. If there's a problem in these invoices, I haven't seen them. So I could conclude that what you're saying is not right and what she's saying is right. Or I could conclude that she's wrong and you're right. But I haven't seen no documentation. I haven't looked at it. I didn't even know it existed. I knew it should. But I'm going by the fact whether the contract is valid or whether it's not valid. If it's not valid, then we need to have the legal opinion to let us know that it's not valid. At least Trustee Gilbert does. Okay? Now, and as far as anything else that any Attorney Lee or Attorney Gardner, anybody else, I read it, I look at it, and I want it to come before this board in an open meeting setting. And the policy said these things should go before you and the superintendent, that's fine. But when it should be before this entire board, there should be no delays. There just shouldn't be any delays. Because that's what a trustee does. He takes care of the business that is at hand. And if there's any questions, any inquiries, And that's what I'm doing. Now, you may not like it, and I can respect that. But that's not going to change my inquiry. Until these things are solved and it's taken off the table for this board, all of us, not the president and not just the superintendent, all of us. Because we are one. That's what we should be trying to get to. And I think we are trying to get there. But these things have to be dealt with. And that's what I'm asking. And I think that as a board member, I have that right. And this is the way I feel about it. I may be alone, and that's all right. This is not personal. This is not a vendetta against nobody on this board, and certainly no one in the administration. It's about doing the business that we've got to do. We still have much to do, and we need to get this off the table from the Flint Community School Board. That's my position. And if she's not our attorney, if that contract is not valid, I want to know, according to the law, that it's not. If it is valid and we do owe, then let's take care of it. If we don't owe, let's move on and keep on moving. But it's got to get off the table because it's on the table.
Once again, I have requested that the Attorney Lee come and speak with the president and the superintendent, because we have some questions. That has always been the policy. And once she does that, we iron out these things that need to be ironed out, because that is what the policy speaks of. She has a right, she's supposed to have come and speak to the president and the superintendent in regarding some issues that she knows what they are. Now, you guys voted before. Go ahead and pay her. You voted. She did the work. Pay her. We did. You do. I think. Am I correct, Mr. Law? They voted
No.
No. Point of clarification, Madam
There was
President.
a motion.
We voted.
The last invoice she got paid, you guys said go ahead and pay her, and we did. You said go ahead and pay her. She did the work, and then voted, and it passed.
So that's board action, right?
But guess what? That same invoice is still before auditor now. And so what we going to do? I had never seen the invoices. You guys said pay them. We decided to go and look at these invoices, line by line. $8,000, $7,000. Her appellate attorney. What are you billing us $7,000 for? We don't even know you. We haven't met you. And another $7,000. Only thing we're asking for is clarity. She has to come before the president and the board as stated in policy. Then we move it to the next level. She's not going to just run around here and do what she wants to do and cry wolf. No vendor is doing that. All vendors are following policy. And then we pay them. If this is authorized, if the board authorized you to do this, did the president or the superintendent, that's who authorized this. Did we authorize you to do this? Did we authorize you to do this? We're looking at an invoice, how many hours to bill for you? Oh, 5 hours. And that was 3 hours for me. Never talked to you 3 hours, just making up numbers. So yes, I would love to get this settled, but I'm gonna close my argument. You can take your vote and do what you need to do, but I'm gonna follow policy. We need, and that is what she have to come before the president and the superintendent so we can clear some things up, talk about some things, then we come to the board as a whole. But she's out of order, not Dr. McNeil or Mr. Superintendent or Laura. This vendor is the only vendor, all the vendors we got won't follow this process. Chris Delmore.
Thank you. Yeah, I am not saying in any ways or means that we pay just to pay to settle the issue. But it's something right in front of our face that we need to deal with. If we don't set up a meeting with her, the issue doesn't just go away.
She has a meeting. She can come in and make a meeting appointment with me the superintendent and the president, and she knows exactly, because she's the attorney. She's the attorney. She knew exactly when that contract, she knows what she's doing. She knows, like I said, she's the attorney. I'm not giving in because she's an attorney. I don't jump for that. I'm saying that there's a policy and a procedure. Who's ordained, who's giving you authorization to do all of this work and do all of this building? And it hadn't been before the board. We hadn't voted on it. I need her to clarify some things. And then she had to clarify with the treasurer that we have a process, but when it comes to these vendors, you guys don't want to go through the treasurer. Just come in here, hear your invoice, pay them, do what I tell you to do. And I'm not saying that it could be wrong, but it have to have a discussion. I have to follow policy. If I sneeze wrong, I have to follow policy.
So,
I'm here.
so let's say she comes in and has the meeting with you and the superintendent. Where does it go from there?
Well, according to what the meeting is, how do we, you asked me where we go from there. We have this
Well,
meeting.
does it come before the full board?
Yes, it will. Then you have all your ducks in order and everything is in order. We got to get this vendor under the same guideline as all the other vendors. She been with us a year. She won't know about to do her evaluation. She doesn't get her evaluation. And she's supposed to get an evaluation at the end of the year. All the other attorney, everybody, all vendors has a 1-year contract. And she won't answer to that. So I don't know what you guys want me to do. If you guys want to vote and give this girl the red carpet, she's already paid this one, she'll be at $70,000. We'll give her what she wants.
No, what I would like to see happen is that we
She
deal.
meets with the president. And I'm not giving in to that. She's gone, all other president that sits in this seat, except when it came to Joyce Ellis McNeil, I'm just, because I'm speaking to you, you asked me a question. I'm following the policy that been in place, but when I gets here and try to follow the same procedure, now we want to reread policy, and she doing this. Nobody said nothing for the last 2 or 3 years, and I've been sitting here watching it. I'm following policy. I'm asking this person, the vendors, to do the same thing. So yes, once when you guys are talking, she comes in and I send an email, I need to speak with you. We need to speak with you.
Okay.
Demanding a paycheck, then when you don't get your paycheck, when they print it, hey, she even demanded that the previous president make a worker take her check. What kind of stuff is that? We don't deliver vendors their check. You just pick up the phone and call the board, and then you go take her check because she needs her check. Well, we don't operate like that. So I'm saying, as a board president, I looked at the policy, and I went to MASB on this policy, on this process. This vendor, have to report and ask to the president and superintendent, who authorized you to do all of this stuff? 5 and 6 pages. If she get validated, fine. But who authorized? I did. So, we could be here till 11 o'clock at night. Go ahead and make, say what you have to say, Mr. Trustee Gill.
Well, Madam President, let me say this. You're the president of the board. It's your responsibility to do all things necessary under policy, as you so often say, to make this right. It's your responsibility. Because you represent the board. You just don't represent yourself or somebody else. And if you come back and tell us, or you come back and you show us, this is what happened, line by line. I can't speak for my other colleagues. Because they grown, they can speak for themselves. I'll support you if it's wrong. That stuff can be shown and proven by policy through the executive finance director, the treasurer, or whoever. That somebody done something inappropriate, they overbilled, whatever it is. But constantly saying what happened, no proof, to us as your colleagues, as this board, I'm not going to stand for it. Because it should be dealt with. It's not personal with Ms. Lee. You brought her on the board. You the one recommended that she come. I don't know her like you know her.
I don't know her.
All I know is that this is a reflection on the board. That's all I know. And if it goes further into some type of litigation, that's what I'm trying to prevent. We just don't need it. And I'm going to do everything I can to stop it as a trustee and a board member. And my mind is clear.
And this is a last comment from me on this, and I've said it before. It's much better to settle issues like this in-house than at the courthouse. When you get to the courthouse, it gets kind of messy and it gets kind of expensive. And all I'm asking for is a meeting, whether it be public meeting here, whether it be closed session. I think it's important to have a meeting so that all board members have the opportunity to hear from her what she has to say. As far as billings, as far as the amounts, the work that was or wasn't done, whatever. That's all I'm asking for. Just so we can deal with the issue and get it done. If a closed session isn't the right place to be, maybe an open is. I don't know.
So the proper procedure would be for Ms. Lee to go to the superintendent and the board president, which she refuses to do. And she inappropriately CCs board members in emails, possibly violating open meetings. I don't even know, because I'm not the lawyer. And it's just unbelievable that we're at this place with yet another legal counsel. So she comes before the president, then we take the next step. So if the ball's not in the president's court, the president has done what she's supposed to do. So the ball is in Ms. Lee's court. Now, if we are requesting a closed-door meeting, there are certain specifications in order to have a closed-door meeting. I am not going to agree to have a closed-door meeting with this particular vendor under these circumstances because I feel that the board would be compromised. If we were to do any sort of meeting, I would recommend that we get Attorney Gardner to be our legal counsel to represent us in this matter. And so if it's going to go to closed meeting, open meeting, it's going to escalate and it's going to become an issue. You're pushing a bad position. You know, I don't want to say, like, bring it to debt collection because then it'll come up, but there's, she's not following procedure, and she needs to do that. Going to the podium and making a wildly inaccurate statement isn't following procedure, and I am kind of astonished that a vendor, particularly a legal vendor, would stoop to that recourse. It's unprofessional. So, if you guys want a closed-door meeting, I will not vote for it unless it's with Attorney Gardner, with Trim Law. I mean, and to check with them to make sure that we're doing it above board and everything is is like it should be. I'm not going to go into a closed-door session with Attorney Lee ever again and compromise the board. So if she can first go to the president, and then she can come before the board and answer questions about her invoice. I already told you there's a line item where she claims to have had a conversation with me for 5 hours. That's just one example. She has to follow the procedure, as with every other vendor. So I don't understand why it's coming to this and why you're pushing a bad position so hard for this particular. It makes me question why you're advocating so hard for this one particular thing when there are so many other pressing, urgent matters that you could also be getting behind. So that's where I'm at. If you want to call the question, I'm not going to vote for that closed door meeting. You can make another motion to have her follow, to have Ms. Lee follow procedure and do what she's supposed to do. You can call for a meeting that we have a closed door meeting with Timothy Gardner so we can get legal advice about this particular thing. But I mean, I'm done with people not knowing what the procedures are and what it is that you're supposed to be doing due diligence for as a trustee of the board. So I'm not your babysitter.
I would support that as a friendly amendment to have the closed door session with, Attorney Gardner.
This is my last comment. And the board, we have a right to vote the way that we feel and what we think is in the best interest of this board and this district and these wonderful children. And I'll just say this so I can clear the air, so all minds can be clear. I'm 66 years old. I don't need a babysitter. Let's get that straight. So let's do the business. Let's stick to the business. If we're going to vote, we can vote. Or we can sit here all night long and we can talk about it. We can discuss it. I'm not going to call for the question because I think it's too critical. It's too important. Miss Lee was here when I got here. Now, how long she stays, that'll be up to the board. It won't be up to me. I have a vote, I have a voice, and I'm going to exercise that. And that is my position. And my mind is clear.
Is there any more discussions? Any more discussion? This meeting is adjourned. There's a motion on the floor. Oh, there's a motion on the floor? What was the motion? To call for a closed meeting. There's a motion on the floor to meet with Timothy Gardner.
No, for Attorney Lee for a closed session.
Oh.
That's what it,
There's a motion on the floor to meet with Attorney Lee for a closed session. Was it said?
Yeah, and then we just had.
Yeah, we did.
There was, okay, so I call your name, please, say yes. Trustee Demaroni,
Yes.
Trustee Booth? No. Trustee McIntyre?
No.
No. Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Myself is a
Will you announce the motion fails?
no. She's counting. Give her a minute, she's counting. Motion failed. 3, no, 2 yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bird.
Trustee Demaroni?
Yes, I wish to move that the general public not be allowed in the stage area or the back room prior to our meetings or afterwards. It revolves around safety.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I move that, yes.
Support.
And then moving support, is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Is my partner considered general? Because he comes up here and escorts me out of the building.
You know, using the word general public, I would say yes. What I'm trying to avoid is, in the last 2 or 3 meetings, there have been many people coming up on this stage after the meetings to, I don't know what they're doing, looking to talk to somebody. I just feel that in light of what's going on throughout the entire country and just hardcore feelings by some people, not on this board, but, you know, we don't know where threats will come from. And when they come, they're unexpected, they're tragic, they're disappointing, and, you know, I don't know all the people that come up here from time to time. I've seen some members of the general public want to come in through that back door there. I think this is a security issue for board members, administration, and others. But that's where I'm at.
So I agree with the sentiment, but the times that I can speak personally when I've had people come up have been, and I can name them, and I think you know who they are. They're 2 women and my partner, because I have had to have personal protection, and there has been like a lapse with having security officers and police. Like, there's not police right here. So at this point, my husband will be coming up and escorting me off stage into my vehicle and driving me home.
Okay, and you know what I was saying, I guess there can be exceptions for, you know, if we had a board member who was handicapped in some way and somebody got to push the wheelchair for him or whatever. So, I mean, I'm flexible in that regard, but, you know, I don't know why so many have to come up on stage. I'm concerned about that back door being unlocked. I'm concerned that, you know, we don't have police here or security. I mean, just in the sense that we voted for it. But, and I think we all know why we voted for it, but even without what had happened, I think it's a good idea to have some security. We're a public body. I mean, City Hall has it. County commissioners, well, they have county sheriff people that show up for meetings, prosecutors there. So, yeah, I mean, if someone needs a person to come up and push a wheelchair, help with crutches, in this case that board member Laura is talking about, you know, we know their intent in general. Others, though, I don't know their intent. I don't know who some of them are. You know,
Yeah, I think press should be kept on the stage. And I know that a member of the press came up. I mean,
yeah.
sure.
I mean, because the police officer who's here, they change from week to week, month to month.
In the past.
They don't know who these people are.
In the past, board members would go down if they want to talk to the press. They would, president would, superintendent, I go down and if I want to talk. If I don't, I'm going out of this door here. And I understand what you're saying. I see it quite often that once the board meeting is over with it adjourned, there's no reason for anybody to come up here and all these deep discussion on this platform. There's no need for that. But I have seen them come up and discuss it. They didn't like you did this. These people have to go home. They got to work at 8 o'clock. Here it is 11 o'clock. And they need to go home. I need to go home. So, yeah, I can understand that with exception, because then you be tired up. I don't, when I leave here, I don't want to do all of that. If I want to talk in the past, you go down there and speak. And the president or the superintendent speaks to the media. So I'm agreeing with you because we're working in a hostile environment. And that's why we have these issues, because it's been so hostile. You know, and these threats. You can't even have a decent closed door meeting because somebody's always threatening. So I am 100% in what you just said. And if we can make this so we, you made a motion. Was it second?
Discussions.
And was there more discussion? Any more discussion on it? If there's no more discussion, we'll go by roll call vote to make sure, and we'll let the officer know that we have made this call. Keep in mind, the city of Flint says only the president and the superintendent can tell the police officer what direction to take. They can't get instruction from all the board members and nobody else. So given all of that, we're doing a roll call vote. Christelle Maroney?
Yes.
Linda Booth?
Yes, with exceptions.
With exception, okay. Trustee Magda?
Yes, with exceptions.
Trustee Gilbert?
Yes, with exceptions.
And myself with exception. Thank you, Christelle Maroney. And there any more discussion this meeting?
Just in regards to the superintendent's evaluation, you had mentioned earlier in the meeting that we're not required to tell them what we're going to be evaluating them on.
No, that's not part of the training. It wasn't in that training. It's a process. And when we get ready to have this, they gave us some dates available. MASB will walk us through the process, through the training. I haven't done it myself. None of us has really done it. So we're asking MASB, Mr. Jones haven't went through the process. Even though he has not had his training, we still can do the evaluation because we have to walk through the process because the board has not done due diligence as well. But we need to learn how to do the process. It could just be a little small part of it. That's probably all we're going to get through anyway. Then there's another phase. And by that time, hopefully Mr. Jones would have gotten all his training in as well. But we need to start the process to have it in writing for our records and for our auditor process that this board treated this superintendent due diligence by giving him the evaluation, which was supposed to be by June the 30th. But we worked with MASB, he got to get trained, and so we got to put this on the agenda. And I would like to see the process. I've never seen it before. I haven't done it. No one. We've been through the training, but we probably have forgotten what it is that we're supposed to do. So that's where we at. But that's a discussion for another time because I had to get back with the superintendent, make sure he's comfortable with this process as well.
Okay.
So no more further discussion. This meeting is adjourned. 10:30.